Hey, what's up, guys? Let's talk about Oct-inator. So what is up with this thing? What's with the weird name? What is this about? So Oct-inator is definitely something different. It is not what you would consider as a regular standard MainStage template. You'd be forgiven for even calling it a toy, because it is so lightweight and so elegant, and it's really it's got a very narrow focus, and that focus is pads, at least with this version. So this is all about pads, and so let's talk about that 8. There's definitely a 8-ness involved here with Oct-inator. So what does that 8 mean? Well, we have a couple of flagship templates, and those are live, which has no tempo dependent sounds or delays. It's made for if you're playing in a live setting, you're not playing to an integer beat per minute click track kind of thing. You're just feeling your way through. That seems like a natural breakpoint for that product. So that's the best MainStage we can do without having tempo stuff. And then Legacy has the tempo stuff as well. So that is the best, the goal for Legacy always is, always will be, as we continue into the future. Legacy is the best we can do with stock MainStage. And then Pro takes it the next step if you've been like picking up some of those Valhalla reverbs and trying to figure out how to use those, and picking up some of the native instruments, pianos, and wanting to incorporate those. So that's what Pro does, is it brings those products in and integrates it with intuitive keys. And so what is Oct-inator then? Oct-inator is the top 8 pads from those flagship products that we're bringing in to try to make it incredibly accessible. We're trying to give you those 8 of our best pads from those flagship products. Our very favorite 8, our most used 8, our most tried and true, the ones that bring some diversity and all work together. So that's Oct-inator. So there are literally 8 instances of those pad sounds right there. And so I'm just going to play the first one for you, just so you get what we're talking about here. And everything responds to mod wheels, so it can come down and get even more mellow. So if you're trying to do a voiceover or just be really simple, but then you can always build it up. And there's aftertouch and the mod wheel. All right, so before we dive into the rest of these 8 pads, I want to talk about this bottom row of buttons here. So the bottom row of buttons, let's just click on the Yamaha here. I'm kind of a Yamaha guy. So this is our stock Yamaha. So you can see that we have the spacious verb and shimmer on, and we're going to turn that off and just go to a nice haul. And we can switch over to a medium haul. And if we want it to sound a little more natural, we might take the Grand EQ off and if we think there's too much verb on, we can dial the reverb return. And let's try that with spacious. And the shimmer. It's on its own channel. We can dial that down. And that's global, so any effects on any of the pads also return there. So if you want to pull back, if you feel things are a little too wet, you're in a big cathedral or something and you don't need verb or delay or whatnot, then you can tighten up your sound a little bit. If not, there it is. And intuitive keys is typically designed to be faders, to be played faders all the way up. So we have our Yamaha, and let's turn on that. We also have a bright EQ and grand EQ. We could turn them both on, so that would cut through pretty much anything you needed. So let's go back to just grand, and we've got the Yamaha. I mean the Steinway. You can hear a totally different piano and responds to brightness and gets really bright. So that's that big piano sound, is that Steinway. And then the other crazy thing we have here is we have a hardware audio input. So I am going to go over here to my Alesis QSR. Just going to turn that on real quick. And I'm going to pull up program 00, pure stereo. And now I'm bringing that sound into MainStage. So I can turn off the verb. And I can turn on spacious and shimmer. And I can darken it with the mod wheel. Or brighten it. And we've even got an opto compressor here. So let's hear that on the Yamaha. So with, without. So you can hear it just doing that opto thing. Oop. And here's one other, the patented 8VA and shimmer button. So I'm going to play without it and then with it. So again, without it and with it, it adds an octave and adds shimmer. So if you're just trying to call out one particular riff and you'd like to octave it, you don't need to, hammer out the octave. Just hit that button, it'll add shimmer, it'll add the octave. So this is just meant to be a very playable sort of arrangement of pianos. You don't need 20 different instances, one with grand EQ, one without, one with brighten, one with both, one with brighter, one darker. You've got one instance of the Yamaha, one instance of the Steinway, and those 8 instruments up there, that's it. 10 instrument instances in this whole template. So that's what I mean by, at some level, you could be forgiven for calling this a toy, but it is so much more than that, and such a great entrance into MainStage, into synthesis, into developing your own vocabulary of sounds. So let's go to the Yamaha, since that's my, and we're going to go to, and while we're playing this, we're just going to go forward into the next, this Oct-inator patch. And you can see that we've got this first pad just comes right up. We can bring the piano out, or bring it in, or bring our hardware instrument in, which, by the way, doesn't need to be a piano. It could be something else. Here's EP and Silk is one of my favorite combinations from the QSR. So of course we're doing that over the top of these pads here, these warm pads. We could even layer the Yamaha. So a lot of sound coming through. Bring that out. And let's bring up our string sound here. Really gorgeous instrument. Sounds so good with the oh, let's go back to saw here a second. So this is one of those that responds a lot to the mod wheel. Here we go. And here's totally crazy. You ready for this? So this is low pass filter, right? Opening up. And then aftertouch, we'll add shimmer. Look at the shimmer return over here. Watch this. I'm going to add aftertouch. So that's the mod wheel. Aftertouch. So if you're playing along and you are ending a phrase and you just want to bring a big, you want to build a big cloud of shimmer, you can do that, and then go right on to the next sound. So so let's see. So that's Orchestra, and this thing sounds, pop it up an octave. So if you're really trying to get big for a bridge or something. Wheel brings everything down, so just a big emotional range here on everything. We can just crossfade right into the next sound here. And aftertouch introduces that kind of chaotic element to it. Particles. So you can see this is just a huge playground for, you know, if you have a situation where you don't know what is going to be thrown at you and you need to cover the pads and you have a piano player, or even you don't, because you can, at any point, you can bring in a piano on any of these sounds. You could bring in your hardware instrument or your Yamaha or a Steinway. You can have it just configured perfectly right. You can play a little thematic thing, which, by the way, let me show you this too. So let's say we're playing this vintage pad here, and then we play the piano, right? So we'll bring in a Steinway. So if I hit the 8VA button, it adds the octave just to the piano, not to everything, right? So the piano is what pops out, and the pad is everything else is what stays right where it was. So just this is meant to be played, and if you don't have time to prep, or that no one even knows what the set's going to be, this is the thing that you can play and cover all the pad bases just immediately on the fly. This would be my go-to because there's no menus to get to anything, and we've got a bunch of presets here. So we could just jump around these presets. A little more orchestral here. So there you go. And if you're just only playing piano, say you're leading or your job is just pianos, this really gets you everything you need if you're working with stock MainStage. So you've got your Steinway, you've got your Yamaha, you might even have a hardware instrument. You know, you've got all these cool little effects. Got a little compression. You've got, you know, you can choose your verb. You can warm it up. You can tune it exactly right. So if there's more people in the room, the second set, they absorb more of the brightness. You can brighten up your piano like on the fly. That is not something you can do if you have separate instances of the Yamaha for every time you're going to go to it, which is kind of crazy to me as well. So this gets you there, and then with the Oct-inator, you can play anything you need to just on the fly. So I really hope you're digging this. I really hope you see just how powerful it is. Now let me just go to these initialization patches real quick here. So we're going to just turn on a patch, and then we're going to turn on another one. And then we're just going to set the faders about where we want them. And we're going to set the mod wheel about where we want it. And now we're going to hit save. All right, and then we're going to go forward to the next patch, and we're going to turn on particles and maybe saw. And maybe we like that, so we'll save that, and we'll back up, and there's the patch that we made with the mod wheel right where we made it, and then we go forward to the next one, and that's the next one we made right where we made it. And we can keep going down the line like that and making all kinds of custom patches. So, I mean, I gave you a good, you know, I provided some of my sort of favorite obvious mixes, but there are so many here that, you know, I'm sure I've never thought of that you're going to be able to think of, and is something that's going to work for you, that's going to speak for you. And of course, the mod wheel is always going to be in a different position for you than it is for someone else. So, every time you play this, this is your voice as opposed to my voice or somebody else's. So I really hope you can get your hands on. This is such a great way to get into pad synthesis, developing that vocabulary of sounds. So now I also have this song starter set over here. So let's look at that real quick. So this is just like what I would typically often play on a song. I think of a scene for each section of the song. So on verse 1, I might be playing this. And you see where the mod wheel position is saved right there, right? And then there's a motive for chorus 1. I might be a little bit bigger and majesticer. And then verse 2 might be getting bigger, but maybe I want the pad right there, right? The mod wheel there. So I'm going to save that, and it'll be there when I come back next time. Expansive, gorgeous, and the bridge. And then chorus 3 is also expansive, but look at how different it is from over here. The mod wheel's in a different place, so you get all this multiplicative utility out of these patches, these combinations, just because of the mod wheel. And then of course, if you were playing piano, you need a piano at any point. So it's so easy to move in and out, bring things in and out. I love playing this thing. This is great in a small venue, but I've also played it at a big venue, 2,000, 2,500. And I mean, you know, I'm not getting any complaints because these are the same. In fact, sometimes the pads can sound better with this because it's so quick and easy and immediate to get to a new sound, you know, to move a sound up an octave. It's even easier than if you're, you know, over here doing all the flicking these buttons on yourself manually, which is what I would typically do in live, legacy, or pro. So and then we're never going to go in this black box down here. We're not even going to look in there, right? All right. So the other thing I want to show you is the Touch OSC version. Hopefully you can see down here, I've got my iPad open here. We've got the piano patch selected, and the pianos work the same way. So we can bring the Yamaha in the Steinway or our hardware instrument. All right, here we'll switch over to the combo. So we've got all of those options, and then we can flip straight to the Oct-inator patch and start to bring things up. And we can draw right on the XY pad here. We don't even need to use, if your keyboard doesn't have aftertouch, this is how you can access the aftertouch part. So you can still do the mod wheel. And so I'll tell you, the Touch OSC interface gets really addictive really quick. You could just spend 3 hours easily just playing through these pads, bringing things in and out, playing the XY pad, playing the faders, you know, bringing the piano in and out. It's just, it gets very addictive very quickly. And so there also is a Nano Control version of this as well. So if you're running Nano Control, you're totally hooked up. So thank you guys for checking this out. I can't wait to see what you're going to do with it, how it'll maybe save you when you have no idea what you're going into and you don't want to have to be doing any menu diving while you're playing. You can just totally run everything from this main performance screen, including saving patches, modifying patches, all of that. It's just insanity. So super pumped. Thanks for watching this video, guys. Take care.